and respecting your time, but two, to remind us as we have the opportunities to play these roles of leadership for terms on the Commission that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And what an honor it is to continue in the leadership of outgoing Chairman Jim Gilmedi, who has served on this Commission for about a decade. Will you all join me in thanking and appreciating Jim Gilmedi's ongoing service to our state? As a small token of our appreciation to Chairman Gilmedi, we've bought this really nice cardboard box. And I'm pretty darn certain there's something inside of it, too. Jim Gilmedi, this is just a small token of our love and appreciation and respect for you and your leadership and your service to our state.
It's a nice box.
You have to open it to find what's in it.
And even next door, they're applauding Jim Gilmedi. It's like a wave.
This is for the grandkids.
Those aren't my kids.
But there will be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim, is there anything that you'd like to say?
It's really been a pleasure to serve the state over the last almost 11 years now. I've been trying to get ahead of Commissioner Tavallone, but he's about 9 months ahead of me in tenure on this commission. But without our great staff, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and it's really a pleasure to surround the commissioners with the staff that makes our job just a lot easier. So this really belongs to the staff and not to me. So thank you very much.
And Jim, if you'd like, we can place that back in the box and make sure it's well taken care of for you during today's commission meeting. We're going to move forward with our roll call. I do believe we have a quorum, but if we could call the roll, please. Present. With that, we do have a quorum, and we will start today. On the dais, you may have noticed in the audience, we're pretty close together. Fortunately, we all like each other. So, colleagues, welcome to Southwest Airlines flight without the peanuts as we move forward today. But let's start with policy matters and presentation of 2014 State Transportation Improvement Program staff recommendations.
Thank you, Chair
Laura?
Gardino. Yes, Commissioners, this information item is a presentation of the staff recommendations for the 2014 STIP. Materials for this item can be found under tab 65. We did distribute a yellow last Friday and then an additional pink because we've had some changes since the staff recommendations were developed. As required by statute, the staff recommendations were made available to the Commission, Caltrans, and regional agencies at least 20 days prior to STIP adoption. The staff recommendations were distributed via email on February 28th and posted on the Commission's website. The 2014 STIP covers the 5-year period from 2014-15 through 2018-19, adding 2 new years of programming. There is about $1.262 billion in new STIP programming capacity. The adopted 2014 STIP guidelines included a new requirement that each region with an adopted sustainable community strategies include a qualitative or quantitative assessment of how the RTIP facilitates implementation of those policies and projects in the SCS. Those counties within a region with an adopted SES did report, some in broad general terms and some with detailed information on how the RTIP projects meet the goals and objectives. The 2016 STIP guidelines will be revised to ensure a more consistent measure of documenting proposed projects' effectiveness in meeting the SCS goals and objectives. The staff recommendations have been crafted to program the capacity available by fiscal year consistent with the fund estimate adopted by the Commission. Where staff recommendations differ from the original RTIP or ITIP request, the change is indicated by shading in our spreadsheets. The 2014 STIP staff recommendations are based primarily on the need identified in the fund estimate to delay or delete $83 million in projects currently programmed in 14-15 through 16-17. The programming targets identified in the fund estimate, project priorities and scheduling recommended by regional agencies and Caltrans, and Commission policies as expressed in the STIP guidelines. In general, staff recommendations resulted in the following. To the extent possible, existing projects remained in the year programmed, except when requesting significant increases in funding. New projects were recommended for programming in the last 2 years, 17-18 and 18-19, based on county targets and prioritizing state highway needs, construction funding, and new components of existing projects. Similarly, recommendations for advances prioritize state highway needs, construction funding, and new components of existing projects. In addition, rail, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian projects that were identified as local priorities were, to the extent possible, recommended as proposed. New programming for planning, programming, and monitoring was allowed within the statutory limits. Since the recommendations were distributed, staff developed a list of changes and corrections, and you have that in your packet. The staff recommendations essentially total the annual fund estimate limits through 18-19. Therefore, if we are to add or advance one or more projects, we need to have compensating deletions or delays in other projects to stay within the fund estimate limits. After adoption this afternoon, there will likely be the need for more technical changes or corrections. As with past STIPs, the proposed adoption resolution includes a clause that would authorize staff, in consultation with Caltrans and regional agencies, to make further technical changes. Any substantive changes would be brought back to the Commission for approval. In conclusion, I would like to thank Juan Guzman for the long hours and excellent work that he put into preparation of these recommendations. And also I'd like to thank Carrie Porvahidi, Teresa Favela, and Laura Pennybaker, who helped in the review of the RTIPs. I also want to thank the regional agencies and Caltrans for their efforts and understanding and cooperation in working with me. As you heard at the STIP hearings, many of these projects are ready to go earlier than we were able to propose them. This is an information item. The related action will occur this afternoon.
Laurel, thank you for the staff presentation. Colleagues, any questions of Laurel at this time? Seeing no hands, we do have several members of the public who would like to address this item. Let's please start with Damon Nagami with the National Resources Defense Council. And for just efficiency today, if other speakers might join Damon in order of the following: Jessica Meany with the Safe Routes to School National Partnership, who will be followed by Rick Tippett with Trinity County Transportation Commission. Damon Nagami, welcome.
Thank you, and good morning. Hello? Sorry about that. Can you hear me in the back? Good morning, everyone. Damon Nagami with the Natural Resources Defense Council. We and other groups have submitted written comments, which you have, so I just wanted to highlight a few key points. Over the past decade, California has made tremendous strides to develop a clear vision to create more sustainable and equitable communities. From SB 375 to SB 391 and beyond, our state's leaders continue to lay the groundwork for systems and infrastructure that reduce greenhouse gas emissions while improving health and sustainability in California. We believe state transportation funding should reflect these statewide goals and priorities. The 2014 STIP, however, continues to be devoted to expanding highway capacity with only a minor percentage for rail and active transportation projects. This is unacceptable. Given recent coverage of the SSTI report calling on Caltrans to better align its investments with California's environmental goals, We had hoped the STIP would be an opportunity to answer the call with a diversified portfolio of investments. That's not what this plan does, unfortunately. Rather, it's more of the same. The STIP invests 81% in road and highway projects, mostly widening them, and only 17% in transit. Caltrans recently conducted a household travel survey that found that 18% of all trips in California are made by walking and biking, nearly doubling since 2000. On hearing these results, the director of Caltrans said that based on this research, we can make good decisions about transportation that will improve mobility, air quality, and travel choices for all Californians and make our state a better place to live and work. That sounds great, but the STIP proposes just 2% of its funding to support bicycling and walking trips. It just doesn't add up. We can do better. And we have several recommendations, and I'll just mention a couple here. First, before the next STIP in 2016, adopt performance measures for the STIP that support statewide sustainability, health, and equity goals. These should include a comprehensive reform of the development and review process for the ITIP, the piece of the STIP that is allocated by the state, as well as the RTIPs, the RTIPs. Second, provide a forum where this commission can clearly communicate to the public how STIP investments are contributing to climate goals and benefiting the state, and where Californians feel empowered to ensure that their needs are recognized through planning and investments. By making this process transparent and accessible to the average citizen, the Commission can help ensure that plans and investments accurately reflect what the public wants and needs from its transportation system. We were encouraged to see Secretary Kelly's comments calling for those involved in the 2016 STIP process to start working now to modernize project evaluation and improve mobility across all transportation modes. That would be a good start. In closing, rather than continue down the path of road widening, which supports only auto travel, leads to future congestion, higher road maintenance costs, and undermines progress towards better urban and natural environments, California needs a better game plan. We stand ready to work with you to get there in 2016. Thank you for considering our comments.
Damon, thank you for your comments today. Commissioners, any comments for Damon Nagami? Let's move on then, please, to Jessica Meany with Safe Routes to School, to be followed by Rick Tippett and then Madeline Spencer. Jessica, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Meany. I'm the Southern California Policy Director for the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. Excited to be here today. We have submitted a letter with several state organizations. You should have a copy of it with some of our concerns about the STIP and some of the opportunities we see for this commission. Echoing a little bit of what we just heard from my colleague from the National Resource Defense Council, it's exciting here in California. We have some great state policies that are really moving towards a more multimodal travel and investment transportation network. We think there's great opportunities to further align the STIP project list with these regional and state policy goals. I've been particularly excited to see the Caltrans report that came out last week that showed a doubling of walking and bicycling trips in the state of California. I think we can do more for project lists and investments to support that. One of the best ways we believe we can do that is getting at performance metrics so that we're really looking at the bang for our buck, the cost effectiveness of the transportation projects we do, how they help us achieve travel for all trips. Here in up north, in Los Angeles County, I do most of my work. We've been meeting with more and more business leaders about the economic benefits of a walkable, bikeable, transit-accessible region in LA County. Groups like the Urban Land Institute, the LA Chamber of Commerce, Valley Industry Commerce and Association have all shown interest in business location that their employees and their employees' families can be in, where they can walk to school with their kids, they can take transit to work, and we see higher real estate values in communities like that. I think using performance metrics for some of our project lists will help California further achieve many of its ambitious goals. Thank you.
Jessica, thank you. Any questions of Jessica Meany? Let's move on to Rick Tippett with the Trinity County Transportation Commission, to be followed by Madeline. Rick?
Rick Tippett, Trinity County Transportation Commission, Executive Secretary. I was sent by the Commission to personally thank the Commission staff for all the hard work they have done with the county over the last year. What is proposed in 2014 STIP will really assist us in bringing a project to conclusion, or constructing a project that, rather than phasing over many years, could be constructed over only a few seasons. As Commissioner Gilmany has pointed out, the rurals are suffering. This is due to a deep reduction of forest reserve funds. Trinity County Transportation Commission and the Forest Counties wish to express our deep appreciation that the Commission recognizes that difficulty. With your help, Trinity will be able to deliver a project that has been in the works for 15 years. It brings good paying jobs to a community that has high unemployment and wages that are well below the state median income. Also, these efforts will help improve circulation in the community, especially to our largest employer, which is Trinity River Lumber. With all the significant demands and goals that are placed on the state transportation system, such as greenhouse gas reductions, congestion mitigation, and complete streets, small frontier counties appreciate that the Commission sees value in the transportation system with many different needs, not just large individual components. And again, Trinity County Transportation Commission values your support of the STIP as proposed by staff. And then personally, I wanted to make sure I thanked Laurel and Juan for being available and really helping guide us through some difficult moments when we found out projects are well above cost. Thank you.
Rick, thank you for your comments and for your commendation of our staff as well. Any questions of Rick Tippett? Let's move on then to Madeline Spencer. And the last speaker card that we have at the moment will be Craig Duffy. Madeline?
Good morning. My name is Madeline Spencer, and I am a member of Sacred in Santa Ana. And I am here today. We just passed in the city of Santa Ana a 5-year strategic plan, and one of our goals in that plan is for a healthy community, which means safe streets and connected streets. I'm here today because there are currently no resources in our city to take care of a problem that's causing many different issues, such as youth getting ticketed for riding their bicycles in our city, and also pedestrians being hit. We've had about 6 different people hit in the last 3 months in our city. I am also interested in this board's ability to help to streamline and get OTS and ATP funding, so that, because we need stakeholder DTL projects, not just locally, and those extra funds will help to improve current conditions on our streets. And that's something that's much needed. It will help us align those goals for strategic planning so that we can begin to have safer streets in Santa Ana. Thank you.
Madeline, thanks for joining us today. Any questions of Madeline? Seeing none, Craig Duffy?
Thank you very much for being here. It's an opportunity in Orange County to have a great commission to come, and I've seen all your pictures on the webpage, and someday to meet you. Appreciate it. I'd like to thank the OTS staff. I'd like to thank the commission for their helping from our research, and I'd like to thank Brian Kelly's staff yesterday to explain the letter that's before you. This letter came out of the California Highway Safety Plan 2014, page 5. Business Transportation Housing Agency, paragraph 4. Moreover, OTS is also funding new programs to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety, including expansion of California pedestrian program. Alternative transportation options like walking and bicycle can be a strong component of increased economic vitality and livability, but only if it's truly safe. Through these grants, and local community and across California will receive free expert pedestrian bicycle safety assessments, materials, and implement It's Up to All of Us. That's out of Sacramento Bee campaign, an effort to seek to reduce fatality, injury, active transportation. Under the help of the Brian Kelly's secretary staff, I found that this was buried, and it wasn't in the document. California Pedestrian Safety, PedSafe. In this, it says California's primary mission in California Department of Health is California today is, who knows, approximately 19% correction of the traffic fatalities and pedestrian related. This is approximately 58% more than the national average. We have a problem in California. We have, according to the State Transportation Commission staff I talked to, we have a 40% hit and run. Because of the budget constraints of California, we have sucked the resources of our local cities. I hear about everything in capital. It's a local concern. I hear from those I will not mention. It's a state problem. I think we have a stakeholder issue that other states have got together, like Florida, called Alert Live Tomorrow, that won the Governor's Highway Award last year. I think Watch for Me in North Carolina trained every traffic engineer and everybody on board so we can move forward. They have a great program. I think that Maryland have BEStreetsmart.net. I encourage the commission to look at it. It has a tire rode on the person's face. We can't repair these people. We've had 15 fatalities in Orange County in the last 13 months. And it's a cognitive distraction based on AAA study with University of Utah. And what it is, it's a poor design. Our traffic engineers are 20 years behind on this issue. If we're going to bring some solidity to this ATP project, let's make it a stakeholder of the state of California and not have under 18 with cell phones that don't know, we're Asian Islanders who don't know the law because we don't target their PSAs. You got $1.5 million from the U.S. Department of Transportation November 2nd. You research your California, they don't have anything in Vietnamese, nor does the Federal Highway or U.S. Department of Transportation. If we're going to reduce fatalities, we need to all work together and not just one local department to another department. We need all to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Questions for Mr. Duffy? Those are all the question cards that we have at the moment. Oh, thank you. Commissioner Frommer.
Just a quick comment, and thank you to everyone who's been here today to talk about the STIP. I appreciate your concerns, and I think a lot of things that you've all said are valid. I want to hit you with a little dose of reality for us up here, and that is that we are out of money. We are out of money. Our state highway funds are falling. Some of this is because of increased vehicle auto efficiency, collecting yet less money at the pump. There are other factors coming on, the same problem with the federal government. So when you come here and say, hey, I need money for my project, my question is, where are we going to get that? Because we don't even have enough money to maintain the roads that we have in California. I would suggest to you that your energy would also be well spent going to the legislature. Voters in this state 2 years ago approved a $6.5 billion tax increase. Everybody's paying for that in this room. None of that money thus far has come to transportation. None of it. There are legislators talking about getting some of that money for transportation. I would go and support that effort, because then we can have a conversation about the things that we should do. Doing more for bikes and pedestrians and safety. Doing more for rail and transit, which I think is critically important. But because of what's happened with changes in funding and the way that we're faced with, we don't have the money to do that right now. And so I urge you to go and have a conversation about where we're going to get the money to do everything we need to do. Because the truth is, in this state, we need to widen roads to alleviate traffic congestion, because that's a major problem for commuters. There's also a major problem for greenhouse gas emissions. But we also need to build transit, and we also need to have more bike and pedestrian. We need to do all of that if we're going to face the challenges that we face right now. So I would ask all of you, take the energy that you brought here today, which we're happy to see, go talk to the legislature and ask them what they're going to do about putting some more money in the coffers.
Commissioner Frommer, thank you. Commissioner Arp and Brian Annis, your mic is on. Did you need to as well? Why don't we hear from Brian? I think your mic was on first, and then Commissioner Arp.
Well, good morning, everyone. There were a couple speakers that mentioned the letter from Secretary Brian Kelly on the STIP, and I wanted to indicate that on, I guess, item 65, where the STIP would be adopted in the agenda, the letter's included, I believe, in the packet there. And just a couple comments on the contents of the letter. First, the letter does compliment the CTC for the work done in the last set of guidelines, where for the first time each region was asked to include a discussion on how the program of projects relates to its sustainable community strategy. The other thing to mention, as was brought up by the speakers, is that we really do right away after adoption of the 2014 STIP start the work of the 2016 STIP, and that involves the interregional strategic transportation plan and other efforts at the local level that are similar. And this does, I think, provide an opportunity in terms of the new agency being formed. The federal government certainly has a new emphasis on performance measures in MAP 21, and I believe over the course of this calendar year we'll be seeing their recommendations on what those national performance measures should be. So I do think this is this 2014 year going forward is a very important year for the interested parties in this world to get together and work through how we can make some improvements to our STIP process, some greater measures that perhaps cover a greater breadth of policy goals so that we have some greater transparency, greater understanding, make sure that our evaluation processes are not focused on any particular mode, but really looking at those projects that meet our suite of objectives in the most cost-effective way and that will benefit mobility, safety, and sustainability as well.
Brian, thank you. Commissioner Arp?
Yeah, I just wanted to say amen to Commissioner Frommer's remarks. It goes back to some of the comments that we had on the STIP last month, actually I guess in January. Really, we have some laudable goals at the state level that I think we all want to try to strive for, but without funding, it doesn't really matter what we do. The little bit of money that's in the STIP program, the locals are really just struggling to try to meet the most pressing projects. There's nothing in any of their requests that are what I would call addressing any kind of fat or programs that are not a high priority. They're really just trying to take care of business at the local level. So to overlay that with state goals, we should be looking at some statewide goals to bring our network together. But we need the money to do it. You can't just take it from what little bit of table scraps we're working off of and say, oh, we've got to forget everything we've done in the past and do something totally different.
Commissioner Arp, thank you. And Commissioner Medeffer?
Thank you very much, and I do completely agree with Commissioner Frommer's comments. I was going to reference the letter as well. I certainly agreed as getting ready for 2016. It seems like sooner finish up item 65 today. It'll start right up again, and clearly some of the issues on sustainability, health, equity, public transportation, I think are all issues that we should be looking at. And also mechanisms to fund. As I've shared with my fellow commissioners, I happen to be somebody who drives an electric car, and I feel guilty not contributing to the road system anymore. So we've got to fix that too, and that's an issue. The other thing I wanted to bring forward for staff to consider, and perhaps this is something, Mr. Chair, that could come to a future CTC meeting, and that's methods of construction are changing as well. And one of the things in San Diego, when we wanted to build a new main library, there wasn't a way to do construction manager at risk. So when I was on the city council there, we had to make a charter change, and I put it on there so we could build this $183 million main library at that fixed price. And so we created something on our charter called construction manager at risk. One of the things that I've found, and I think there's 5 or 6 projects in this STIP or throughout the state that are using it right now, but it doesn't really work with the Caltrans system, and I think I think Laurel knows this, is going on in San Diego right now, and that's called Construction Manager General Contractor, or CMGC. And I would think that it would be good to have somebody from the agency give a presentation to CTC at some point, and there should be some changes in the way this STIP is done, because sometimes what works in a pot of money over here, based on the way the construction manager at risk process works, all of a sudden you got to make a change and it doesn't work. And so I would just suggest that that's something that comes forward. We've got issues, and I'd say specifically on the low sand corridor along I-5. It's going to require flexibility within the STIP in order to deliver the money necessary to keep that project moving. So I just thought I'd suggest that that's something we come forward with at some point in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Medeffer. Vice Chair Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to confirm a few things with staff, that the STIP in fact, does implement the federal law changes approved by Congress on MAP 21, that the STIP reflects the cut in federal funding under MAP 21. It includes projects that were submitted up by the regions based on voter-approved ordinances that after lots of public meetings and workshops, right? We haven't had a gas tax increase in over 20 years. Mr. Fromer eloquently speaks, Mr. Medaffer, we all get this. And not all of our system users, thank you, Jim, for admitting that, are paying for the system. So I would really encourage, because if my numbers are, if I remember correctly, even in the 6-county Southern California Association of Governments region, 75% of the funding for infrastructure projects are coming from our local counties themselves, our local agencies. And I would encourage all of these great ideas, all these folks, to please work with your local agencies and allow those projects and good ideas to bubble up through the process. Then they can come up through to us. So there is, it isn't just show up at the microphone for the first time here at the CTC. There really is a lot of working out through a process. When you're dealing with a limited pie, we have to make choices. And so I would just, and all of those sustainability goals are also being included at the local level. So I would really encourage our great speakers to make sure that local control is in their hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Dunn. We're going to hear from Commissioner Inman.
I, too, want to thank my fellow commissioners for pointing out the funding issue. But I want to speak a little bit to the safety issue. And as we migrate to more and more active transportation, I just want to encourage all those folks that are here with us today to really think about the safety issues. And I don't know about you all, but I've been the Lone Ranger standing on the corner waiting for the walk sign to go on, and the rest of everybody around you just proceeds through the intersection as if that hand wasn't up there telling you to stop. So I think we really do have some educational awareness opportunities, and the same thing with our bicycling. And we've probably all been on our own bikes and kind of not stopped totally at a stop sign. And I think the safety issues, as we look at growing a segment, we can't lose sight of how important the safety issues are, and figure out how collectively to weave in stronger messaging and stronger enforcement, because those accidents aren't often in favor of the pedestrian or the bicyclist.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Anyone else on the dais? Well, for both our speakers as well as everyone else in the audience, as many commissioners spoke as people who turned in comment cards. I think what that is conveying, if I may, is that we share your frustration about the lack of funding for transportation infrastructure in our state. We have a statutory obligation as a commission to advise the legislature and the administration about transportation in California, and we will continue to play that role in a respectful and responsible way. But the message I hope you're hearing is we need you to continue to do that with the legislature as well. The message is not, don't come talk to us, go talk to the legislature. It's, thank you for talking to us. Now join us in speaking to the legislature and the administration about the need to adequately fund transportation in our state. So thank you for joining us today. The only one comment I would make is, as a bicyclist who rides more than 10,000 miles a year, more than 5,000 on my daily commute, is I concur with comments about more funding for all aspects of transportation, and certainly more funding for active transportation. Yet when roads are improved, as a cyclist, that improves my commute and my safety on my commute as well. When roads are improved, as a transit advocate, that improves the conditions for buses and express buses as well. So we have to remember that when we have modal improvements, those improvements are often serving multi-modes at the same time. So let's continue to advocate together in the roles that we can effectively with the legislature and the administration. Thank you all again for speaking today, and it's a perfect segue, I believe, from the comments we had both on the dais and in the audience for our next item, and that is, of course, the adoption of our 2014 Active Transportation Program guidelines. Mitch Weiss, would you please step forward? I don't see Mitch.
Chair Gardino, David Gianco will present for Mitch today.
Okay. David, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, this is an action item for the adoption of the 2014 Active Transportation Program guidelines. After receiving approval at the January Commission meeting, staff submitted draft guidelines to the Joint Legislative Budget Committee for review. Since then, we've met with members of the committee to provide an overview of the program guidelines and address any questions that they had. Specifically, we went over 4 subsequent revisions, which are included in your book item, that were made to ensure consistency with statutes and federal requirements. After reviewing the draft guidelines and meeting with staff, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee recommended approval of the guidelines for the Commission. To ensure consistency and transparency of the public development of the guidelines, they further recommended no changes be made to the guidelines. With that, staff recommends approval of the guidelines to proceed with the call for projects.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti and a second by Commissioner Madaffer. We are going to hear public testimony before we vote, but it's always good to get a motion and a second on the table. Let's start with the Commission. Any questions of staff before we hear from the public? David, we want to thank you for filling in today, but Mitch has done such an amazing job on this for 6 months. It's been a professional and I think personal passion of his, and we'll certainly convey that to him at the appropriate time. But thank you for making the staff report today. We have at least 3 cards from the audience. I'm going to ask us to remember that less is more, and so we will be providing each of you with up to 2 minutes to speak. A lot of you probably won't even use that whole time, but with 80 items on our agenda today, we hope that will help the flow of our entire agenda today. So if you could all step forward as I call your name so that we can save time in terms of transitions. We're going to hear first from Sarah Jepson with SCAG, followed by Jessica Meany with Safe Routes to School, and then Craig Duffy with Distracted Drivers and Complete Streets. Again, each of you have up to 2 minutes. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jepson with the Southern California Association of Governments. I'm the Active Transportation Manager there. We really just wanted to take a brief moment to thank you for your work on this. We believe that the Active Transportation Program is a tremendous opportunity for the Southern California region to collaborate with the state to make progress on our active transportation goals, as well as the state's broader goals for sustainable communities and implementing SB 375. Because of the importance of this program to our region, we've worked together closely with our transportation agencies in Southern California throughout this guideline development process to provide input on the policy, standards, criteria, and procedures for implementing the ATP program. And we've really tried to focus on ways to minimize the administrative burden for our implementing agencies and deliver projects as quickly as possible. We appreciate the tremendous amount of staff effort that went into developing these guidelines and facilitating the working group meetings, especially over the holiday season. And as with every process, not all of our recommendations were included in the final guidelines, but we remain committed to working with the CTC to make this first round a success and improving it over time. So thanks again for your support of this effort and this program.
Sarah, thanks for participating in the process. Any questions of Sarah Jepson with SCAG before she sits down? Sarah, thank you. And Sarah really set the trend, only using 45 seconds of her time alone.
The pressure's on.
We're going to hear from Jessica Meany now. Jessica?
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioners. Jessica Meany, the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. We are so excited that you are approving these guidelines and this call for project starts. We've been conducting workshops in partnership with the CTC, with Mitch Weiss has been a tremendous colleague to work with, and all of the workshops we've been doing across the state of California have been highly attended. We're really hearing from communities that are excited for these funds and look forward to submitting their proposals by May. The process of the development of the guidelines was a work in progress, and I think there's always things to learn concern, but we truly appreciate the CTC's willingness to work with stakeholders, particularly some of our equity partners, and hear out the issues and move forward. We look forward to the next round and going forward. I just will say in Los Angeles County, where I primarily work, been really excited to work with Metro and Sarah Jepson at SCAG to really support some great regional proposals for you to review in May, and particularly excited that private foundations have come forward in Los Angeles County to help with the grant writing for ATP proposals to ensure we have some really regionally significant projects for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica Meany, and like Sarah, came in under a minute. Very well done. Craig Duffy, Distracted Drivers and Complete Streets. And don't worry, your time doesn't start until your lips move.
I think I got a challenge here. I feel like a 3 minutes of horse race. Now I got a super horse race. I thank you for your comments, because I'm not here for my own skin. I'm here to address the plight of my City Guard Grove at double fatalities and loss of youth in my corner. Since then, I ask why, since '56, we've got a major upheaval. And I thank you for your comments. OCTA is going to have a massive campaign, some $9 million for awareness. SR 17, if Evans resolution on the whereas 7, mass media education is important. I'd ask this commission, since there are concerns of constraints of budget, to support legislation that require adults, if they get a ticket for bicycling, which is a problem in Seal Beach, to require them to have the option of diversion class for $50, like they do in Westminster court system for Orange County Police, rather than have them to pay the $400. If we're going to bring some balance to the equation, I've talked to one of the commissioners, I'd ask this commission that will not cost the commission anything, but bring some balance to our operation of our vehicles and bicycles, and I'd ask for consideration to support my efforts. I'm also working on AB 2398, first in California vulnerable abuse bill, through the Chiefs of Police of California, and that is done across the United States. Thank you.
Craig Duffy, thank you. Any questions for any of our speakers today? Okay. We have a motion and a second to improve our active transportation program guidelines with Resolution G-14-05. If there are no other comments from the Commission, all those in favor?
Aye.
Or do we need a roll call vote?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. And all those opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Will you all join me in thanking our staff and our regions for putting together such a thoughtful document? If I may remind you all, this is $135 million a year, roughly, for 3 years. Let's really show we know how to do active transportation programs right in California, so that we have options later to continue to fund it in a more robust way than we have historically. With that, we're going to move on to the always cantankerous issue of approving the minutes from our last meeting. Is there any debate on approving the minutes for January 29, 2014?
Second.
That was moved by Commissioner Taglioni and seconded by Vice Chair Dunn. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved. We will now move to our Executive Director's report. Andre Boutros.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of items to cover. First, I want to take this opportunity once more to thank Laurel and Mitch for their perseverance and hard work really over the last several months in putting together the STIP program and the guidelines for the ATP. I think, as you can tell, there are no lines opposing what was presented here today. It was a consensus-based process. There's no one is going to get everything that they want, but I think for the most part we've been able to put together programs and guidelines that really should advance the objectives of both programs moving forward, and we look forward to working with the Commission and our partners out in the regions as well as the state level to really look at the STIP as we move into 2016 and see if there are opportunities that we can embrace and bring to the Commission to make sure that we're addressing the issues that at least have been raised here today in a broader sense and in a more focused fashion. So I just wanted to take the opportunity and really make sure that Laurel and Mitch were recognized for their hard work and their effort that is showing here today.
Bravo.
Second, I have the pleasure to act here on behalf of the California Transportation Foundation to present a scholarship here for Mark. I'm going blank here on the name. Sorry. Anyways, it'll come to me. So the California Transportation Foundation created a scholarship in honor of the Transportation Commission in late 2008. It was funded through a 25-year anniversary party for the CTC, and the event raised over $20,000 for the scholarship. The first scholarship was awarded in 2009, and it has been awarded ever since, every year. The scholarship winner is chosen by the California Transportation Foundation's Scholarship Committee from among many students who attend the CTF Transportation Education Symposium. This symposium, CTF brings students together from universities throughout California. They bring 38 students and they pair them up with 38 professionals in the field. And they spent really 2 days of role-playing and mentoring and working on specific projects. This year, Mark was at the symposium, and his scholarship application included an essay that he entitled "What I Will Do to Improve Transportation in California." In addition to his essay, he included his leadership experience, where he served as the ASCE conference chair, and he worked as well at the Santa Barbara Department of Transportation. It is with my great pleasure that I present a $1,000 check to Mark Lawrence on behalf of CTF. Congratulations, Mark, and if you would step up to the podium or up there.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
And your check.
We want to hear his ideas.
You want to give us a brief overview of your paper? You can use that.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. And while Mark is walking down to the podium to give us an overview of his paper, let me mention a couple other things. Just a reminder that we have a town hall meeting in April. It'll be on April 7th and 8th, and it will be up in the Sierras at Lake Tahoe. And we are planning a border tour after the May meeting in San Diego. So just for information for the commission, and if you would indulge me and let Mark take the podium for now. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. In my paper, I talked a little bit about how President Eisenhower in the 1950s was a soldier in Germany during World War II, and he noticed the German Autobahn system and how efficient it was. And at that time, America's freeways were in very poor condition, and there weren't many of them, and he brought a lot of those ideas back to the United States when he became president, and was able to start the interstate highway system, which was a very good thing to do, and talked a little bit about why I thought California also could benefit greatly from high-speed rail system and also mixed use. I don't know the word for it, but like mixed use centers that have housing and retail and like say a light rail center all in one, which would be really good on getting cars off the road and more people taking light rail trains. So, but yeah, once again, I thank you for giving me this award. I'm very honored to receive it.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Andre. And Mark Lawrence, thank you again for submitting your report and being honored by the California Transportation Foundation. If you're looking for more ways to help improve the system, you could give us that $1,000 back and we'll fill some potholes.
No.
Think about it. We'll talk. Thanks again, Mark Lawrence. Let's move from there to Commissioner reports, and I want to note that we have been joined by our colleague from Fresno, Darius Assemi. Welcome, Commissioner. We're glad you were able to safely get here from your travels. And Commissioner reports, we'll start with Commissioner Frommer.
Thank you, Commissioner Guardino, Terry Guardino. Just quickly, Commissioner Burke and I had an opportunity to be on hand for the ribbon cutting for the inauguration, I should say, of positive train control by Metrolink and MTA. This commission played a leading role in coming up with a lot of money to fund that. Sadly, the chair, I don't think, was asked to speak there, but I'm sure that was an oversight by Metrolink. But we were happy to be there nonetheless and support the effort. Senator Feinstein was there, Congressman Schiff, and it was a nice opening.
Commissioner Frommer, thank you for that report. Other reports from the Commission? Commissioner Inman.
I'll speak under item 19, talking about our national freight strategy regarding my work on the National Freight Advisory Committee. I think it's more appropriate there.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Commissioner Assemi, you seem to be reaching for your mic.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I had a chance to meet with Congressman Denham regarding future transportation funding, and one of the areas that he is supportive of is additional revenue, tax revenue from fracking sources. I wanted to report that to the Commission. Also want to recognize District 6 Director Sherry Ellert for her leadership in getting the Breda Ramps project, and Caltrans, getting the Breda Ramps project done under budget by several $1 million. So a lot of savings went back into the shop as a result of that project coming in about $5 or $6 million under budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Assemi. Any other commissioners? Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, which is commissioners' meetings for compensation. This is an action item, I believe. We need a motion to approve, unless there are comments. There's a motion by Vice Chair Dunn and a second by Commissioner Burke. Oh, thank you. Your voices have always sounded so similar to me. Are there any comments from the Commission? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that passes unanimously. Let's hear from our agency secretary or undersecretary. I believe Brian Ennis is speaking today.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Most of the comments I was going to make are under issue 17 here, the California Transportation Infrastructure Priority. So I'll be brief here so I can be a little more lengthy there. But I did want to join in certainly recognizing former Chair Gometti for his service, and I believe you're the commissioner I've known the longest. I recollect back, I think in the early 2000s during 2 recessions ago when some transportation funding was at risk or lost, a very passionate discussion with you at that time. So I know you've been fighting for transportation funding for a long time. So thank you for that. And also in my prior job at the State Senate, I had the opportunity to work with new Chair Guardino and Vice Chair Dunn, and very happy to be able to continue working with you as well. And the other thing, I just wanted to comment briefly on the action just taken on the active transportation project. And Mitch has, and CTC staff have gotten a lot of well-deserved praise on this. We just wanted to note that really at the beginning of the process for funding this project, it was a governor's budget proposal in January of last year of 2013. And we had done some work with the advocate community prior to that release, but when it came out, they did have a lot of concerns and were initially opposed. We didn't get it in the budget in June. It ended up being adopted in August. We did, I think, get their support with some caveats and concerns about how the guidelines would be drafted. And really, it's a credit to the Commission that all their work, all their meetings resulted in, I think, really a feeling of ownership of a lot of the advocate community, feeling this is their program now. And I think it is a good example of how the legislative, how the CTC through their guideline process can really result in a a real optimal outcome, and just again want to compliment everyone.
Thank you, Brian, and please give our best to the Secretary as well. Okay. Malcolm, report from Caltrans Director.
Thank you, Chair Gardino, and welcome to your new position, and also welcome to Vice Chair Dunn to your new position. I look forward to working with you, and also my compliments to outgoing Chair Gometti. I usually am not critical of CTC staff, but I am going to also offer up one criticism today. The unfortunate timing of today's meeting...
I'm sorry, your time is up.
The unfortunate timing of today's meeting lands on what I consider a national holiday, and that's the beginning of March Madness, but we'll overlook that. Right. I have a couple of notable personnel issues. Rick Land, my chief deputy, is retiring after about 36 years of service to the Department of Transportation. And prior to being the chief deputy, he was at a time the chief engineer as well as the state bridge engineer and a consummate public servant. And I just wanted to acknowledge him. He'll be retiring on April 4th. And we'll be looking for his replacement shortly after that. Our division chief or assistant director of Office of Business and Economic Opportunity, Renee Halverson, is also retiring, and I want to congratulate her and thank her for her 33 years of service to the state. 19 of those are with the department. Acting District 7 director is now a permanent District 7 director in Los Angeles, and Carrie Bowen is here. Carrie, if you could stand up and be acknowledged. Congratulations to her. By no stretch of the imagination, we have thrown her in the deep end, and we'll do everything we can to make her successful in her new position. Also, Ray Zhang has been appointed as the new Chief of Division of Local Assistance for the department. He replaces Denik Zambia, who departed for a local agency recently. So I just wanted to point out those personnel updates. There were some comments about the SSTI report, and along with the program review and other efforts that we're doing to modernize the department. One of the early action items was for us to revisit our mission and our vision. Our current mission or mission recently was improve mobility across California, and one of the early action items or recommendations that we got was that we should update that and make it consistent and appropriately reflecting today's policies and practices throughout the state of California. Inside the mile marker in your packet, there is a written copy of our revised mission. We had a very intense conversation with our executive board as well as with the California Transportation Agency, and this is based on input that we got from local feedback as well as our employees. And going forward, we really had an intense conversation about exactly what we do as a Department of Transportation and what we provide to the people of California, and we wanted our mission to reflect exactly what that was. And what we do is we provide a safe, sustainable, integrated, and efficient transportation system to enhance California's economy and livability. And we wanted to make sure that that was all encompassing of all the things that we did, as well as reflective of all the modes and how it was important to California. We also intently discussed adding a vision statement and exactly what that vision was for us as a department, and the vision statement is a performance-driven, transparent, and accountable organization that values its people, resources, and partners, and meets new challenges through leadership, innovation, and teamwork. And a hard copy of each of that mission and vision is enclosed in your packet. So that, we hope, is the initiation of several steps that will propel us forward as we revamp the department for greater success in the future. The mile marker document is included in your packet as well. I'm very proud of the product that we put forward. I really think that we have embraced what I term performance journalism in putting this document together. We have been infamous of taking very important information and burying it in a spreadsheet and burying that spreadsheet in 150 pages of documents so that the real message is not really meeting the expectations of the people we're trying to communicate with. This document is wholeheartedly about transparency, accountability, and performance-based management going forward. Again, it's entitled The Mile Marker, a Caltrans Performance Report. We will ramp up and get on a quarterly cycle of producing this document, and I think it is a very good read and a very good presentation of the important performance metrics of the department and how we are doing. So I invite you to review that if you have not had an opportunity to do so yet. To build on some of the earlier conversations about active transportation as well as multimodal, another area that we really wanted to be cognizant of as we look to transform the department for today's policies and practices was modernizing some of our guidance material and bringing along additional guidance material to make sure that we are looking at all modes of transportation when we do our projects and when we do our roadway projects, and making sure that they are in the proper context and taking into consideration all modes. Specific to bicycle and pedestrians, we have very closely looked at both NACDO guidelines for urban street design and bikeway design, as well as re-looked at AASHTO's guide for developing bicycle facilities, and we are poised to bring them alongside and recognize those and support those for utilization both by our designers and local designers when they're doing projects, not only on the state system, but also on the local system. And we'll be making an announcement in the very near future as to what role both those guidance materials, NACDO and AASHTO, will be playing for our engineers on both state highways and local highways. And this is to complement the document that we put out in late 2013 entitled Main Street, a California Guide for Improving Community and Transportation Vitality. So we're very happy to be moving forward with that, and I look forward to making an announcement in the very near future. Regarding roadway user charge, in that conversation, there's a few notable actions that have transpired since we had our last conversation. In February, SB 1077 was released, so we're working very closely with the legislature to help further the development of that bill and review that bill. Last week, CalCog held its annual regional leadership forum, and the department partnered with CalCog to host a half-day workshop to focus on how that road user charge models could be studied and implemented and or piloted. And representatives not only from the Department of Transportation, but DMV, Department of Finance, the Board of Equalization, and ARB were also in attendance. So we're happy that that was as productive as it was, along with all the participation from local entities. Also this month, the Western Road User Charge Consortium met for its quarterly meeting, and there are 9 WASHTO states, including California, involved in that. Norma Ortega is our lead on this discussion, and Gary Gutierrez, who you may be familiar with, helped us tackle the Buy America issue, will be our project manager. The governor issued a declaration of emergency regarding the drought. The department is taking several steps to try to address that concern throughout California. We are looking at not only our facilities, we are looking at our construction practices and dust mitigation and things like that, as well as our potential or our poised landscape project going out, and also our maintenance activities and how we can conserve water as best we can. We are targeting trying to reduce our irrigation of landscape by as much as 50%, why this remains a very important issue to the state. So we will try to be doing our part in that regard. Last meeting, Commissioner Madaffer asked me about the Caltrans stormwater permit, and I wanted to provide a brief update on that. The State Water Board issued a public notice on February 11th, 2014, regarding the Caltrans permit amendment. The State Water Board held a public workshop on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, March 18th. Water Board staff provided a brief overview of the proposed permit amendments, and interested persons had the opportunity to address that draft language. Written comments are due back on March 28th. So consideration of the adoption is tentatively scheduled for May 20th, so now is the time for public comment. We worked very closely with the permitting board to try to address the many concerns that we had, and I think that we did work in a collaborative manner to try to mediate some of the most drastic concerns that we had. Although the proposed permit amendment is an improved process from where we started, there will be challenges and implications to Caltrans in implementing that proposed permit. I'm looking forward to the discussion today on several agenda items, certainly managed lanes, the California Freight Advisory Committee, and an update on the National Primary Freight Network, a status on the I-5 North and South projects here in Los Angeles County, and of course we've already talked about STIP, SHOP, and Active Transportation Program. I'm looking forward to the ribbon cutting on the 180 braided ramps next Friday, which I'll be in attendance. Some other projects just in recent weeks that I've had an opportunity to attend were in San Diego. There was a ribbon cutting on 2 HOV lane projects that added a total of about 10 miles of HOV lanes during that day. And Commissioner Madaffer also mentioned CMGC. We do have a pilot for 6 projects to do construction management, general contractor, to kind of augment the tools that we're utilizing to deliver projects as efficiently as possible, notably design build. And we look forward to implementing those and learning lessons as we go forward. And again, adding as many tools as we possibly can to be efficient. So with that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for the Director?
I just have one comment here. Along with the March Madness, today is the first day of spring, my fellow colleagues, and also coincides with over 2,500 years tradition of being the Persian New Year. So I want to wish Happy New Year to all of our Iranian American and Persian American colleagues in the transportation field and all Iranian Americans and Persian Americans in Southern California.
Thank you, Commissioner Assemi. Director, you
My
had
capable staff pointed out a slight oversight on my part, and it is worth mentioning. We've been in a collaborative effort with several Midwestern states on acquiring additional equipment for our inner-city rail program, and recently we already had a procurement process for rail cars, and recently an announcement was made on the successful contractor for developing locomotives, and it was Siemens here in California in Sacramento to develop 32 locomotives with an option for many other locomotives, and they will be Tier 4 locomotives, which are the cleanest locomotives ever built to date. And so we're happy to see that moving forward, as well as the jobs being created here in here in California.
Mr. Director, thank you, and thank you again for your leadership on the NACTO and AASHTO guidelines as well. We look forward to how those roll out, and that they're rolling out soon. Brian, your mic has been on. Was that... oh, good, okay. I didn't want to be ignoring you. Great, but come on, let's save some energy here. All right. We're going to go on to item 10. I do not see Vincent Mamano. That may mean he's at Comedy Central instead. If that is the case, we have Rick Backlund with us. Rick, welcome.
Good morning. Actually, no, he's not at Comedy Central. He's at our spring virtual business meeting up in his hotel room, but he will be back. So this is we have a biennial meeting of all our leadership, and we're going greener and saving costs, and so he's participating in that meeting. But good morning, Commissioners.
Rick, what we just heard was that meeting is going on in his hotel room. So
exactly.
Go on with your report.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to provide an update for USDOT, a number of items. On February 26th, the President announced our FY 2015 budget. A couple of really exciting items that are included in that. First off, the overall figure for federal highways is $48.6 billion. I'm looking at Commissioner Inman especially because one of the focus areas is on a freight program. So, and she may be discussing that later, but we're very pleased to see that that's going to be one of the priorities. I know here in California, we're all working actively to enhance the quality of freight and the movements and good movements in the state. Another focus program is a new critical immediate investment program, which is also focused in on very critical projects. Again, this is the President's proposed budget. We will see how things go with the Congress. Also, on February 26th, it was announced the President's vision for a 4-year transportation bill, total funding $302 billion, of which we are looking at $206 billion for highways and $72 billion for transit. And with all the focuses on freight and intermodalism, this will be we're just getting started, but more to come on that. Also, on that, during that announcement, we had an announcement of $600 million for the latest Tiger round. That announcement is out. I'm sure that many folks here are busy preparing applications. The closing date for receipt of those applications is April 28th. I would encourage folks that are applying, the website for the processing of the applications and applying is grants.gov. There is an application process that applicants go through before they are approved to apply. I would definitely encourage folks, if you've not already started the process, to begin quickly and soon to ensure that there is enough time to complete. A couple of other things. I did want to mention that on March 11th, we announced a series, first of a series of proposed rulemakings for MAP 21. One of our key provisions is on performance measurement, performance targeted focus across a vast portion of our program. The very first NPRM is focused in on safety performance measures. This was released on March 11th, and the closing period in the docket is June the 9th. This will be followed by NPRMs, and I appreciate the support. Let's keep it up. Next one will be on Highway Safety Improvement Program. We also have upcoming NPRMs on pavements, asset management, and bridge. One of the things that both Vince and I wanted to encourage folks is to provide comments on the docket of what in those rulemakings you all see as good things as well as opportunities for improvement, things that need to be fixed. If all we're hearing from folks are the issues and we're not hearing the good things, that's going to overtake, the things that you all may be supporting. So one of the things I would definitely encourage, and our website is regulations.gov for the receipt of docket comments, is let us know what is good in those regulations, what is good in the drafts, as well as what we can work to improve on. That's about all that I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Rick from the Commission? Rick, thanks for joining us. Give our best to Vince.
He'll be here shortly.
Thanks. We're going to move on to item 11, and welcome to the region. Darrell Johnson, I believe you're here. And as Darrell makes his way forward, I just want to thank Vice Chair Dunn for bringing us back to Orange County. It's always great in Orange County. Welcome, Darrell Johnson.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We'd hoped to have the Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Sean Nelson, and also the Chair of the Orange County Transportation Authority with us this morning. He does have a family emergency, and I know he would like to be here. So I have no ability to do the same speech as Mr. Nelson, but there's 3 points that I would like to just make sure you hear, because I know he would tell you, is that we're the 6th largest and most populous county in the United States. And he follows that up every time with saying, and Los Angeles is number 1 to the north, and San Diego is number 5 to the south. So when you put it all together, it makes a lot of sense in terms of the issues that we're dealing with in terms of transportation. He's very proud of that, talks about that on a regular basis, and he would also point out that Santa Ana and Anaheim are the 2 of the most dense cities in America. If you looked at the top 15 cities in America in terms of density, Santa Ana is number 5 and Anaheim is number 15. So the idea that Orange County is a bedroom community to Los Angeles was something that may have existed in the 70s, but it doesn't exist today. So those are the 3 points he would make, I think, if he were here today. He would also talk a little bit to you about OCTA, and we're more than just the bus system, we're more than just the freeway planner, and we're more than just the sales tax collector. We're one of 3 consolidated agencies in the state of California with a wide variety of things that we're responsible for on a regular basis. Everything from the owner and operator of the 91 Express toll lanes to the 20th largest bus system in America, an investor and shareholder, if you will, in the Metrolink and intercity rail service, as well as very involved in the local streets and roads system. And we're very proud of the work that we do under the sales tax program. And on the sales tax program, there's a lot of discussion about what sales tax programs do in California, how important they are. But for us, the most important thing is it's a contract with our voters. When you come to a conservative county, politically like Orange County, to get nearly 70% of the vote for raising your taxes is no small feat. The amount of work that it took to put a program together in 1991 and then again in 2006 was immense. A lot of people in this room behind me helped with that. And we view it very much as our contract with the voter. So when we work with our partners and with our cities and with the commission and we talk about our sales tax measure, it's much like a Bible to us. You can see the split of the resources here in terms of how much is going to transit, how much is going to streets and roads. And that's worked for us. And it's worked in the past and we think it works in the future. New to this program this last time around was an environmental mitigation program, and I'm going to just touch on that as we go forward a little bit. But we expect this to raise just under $16 billion over the next 30 years. It was passed in 2006, And through some proactive efforts between 2006 when it passed and 2011 when we began collecting the sales tax, we were able to do project development on almost every single transit project and freeway project before we ever started collecting the sales tax. I could talk about $15.6 billion, but that's sort of a big number to try to figure out. What I wanted to focus on today is the projects that we have actual commitments to between now and 2020. 2020 sounds like a long time away, but it's only about 6 years. So what you have here in front of you is a $5.1 billion program of projects that is committed and approved by the OCTA board and has funds programmed against it. This is one of my favorite charts because you can look at it any way you would like. You can look at it by mode, you can look at it by funding source, you can look at it by total. But one of the things I wanted to point out here is that this shows a balance. We're not just about building the freeway system out in Orange County. We have an incredibly good freeway system. It does need more work. But we're proposing to put, and we've committed to put, another $1.6 billion into our rail transit system, another just under $900 million into the local streets, more than nearly three-quarters of $1 billion into our bus transit capital, and then closing in on $30 million in bicycle projects. So this is, and again, these are committed dollars, ready to go. Projects are in planning, and they will be underway by 2020. Moving on to something maybe a little more closer to home to the California Transportation Commission. This is one of my favorite maps. I get to talk about it a lot. This is what we call our OC Bridges program. It's our grade separation program on the BNSF freight corridor between really the ports of Los Angeles, northern Orange County, Riverside, and Points East. And as you all have wrestled with the issue of goods movement over the last few years, and Proposition 1B made a significant amount of money available, our commitment was to match the dollars and to deliver the projects on schedule. And we're pleased that we're making very, very good progress in that. A little hard to see on the picture, but we opened the first one last week. So last Wednesday, ahead of schedule and under budget, we opened the Placentia Avenue grade separation, and we couldn't have done it without your help. We opened it to traffic last Wednesday at 3 p.m., and the week of May 22nd, May 19th, I think, the week of the 19th of May, we plan to open Kramer Boulevard, which is just to the right on the map or just to the east of it. So that'll be 2 of the 7 that we've promised, and we're going to continue to do that, and we expect all of those to be completed by the schedule requirement of 2018. So they've all had their contract awarded, and they are all underway in some way, shape, or form. We'd invite you to come out and take a look at any time you'd like to take a look at those projects. I missed the discussion earlier about active transportation. I heard it was pretty robust. We had one of our own committee meetings this morning. But it's important to Orange County as well. We're taking a much, I would say, broader view in the role of active transportation. We have moved from what I would consider a passive participant in things like bicycle and pedestrian planning to a more active participant. We've done that with finances. We've done that with staffing. We've done that with focused efforts. And for the first time ever, we've recently sort of restructured our organization, and we're going to have a dedicated active transportation planning staff person, and we're going to be looking to hire somebody to do that for us in the short term. The map there, and I don't expect you to read it in great detail, but what it shows is that we have a significant number of local bike routes, local bikeways. But one of the things that we're focusing on is making sure they connect. When you have a region of 3.2 million people with 34 individual cities, they've all done a pretty good job planning for bikeways in their cities. It's that connecting across the regions, it's that connecting through the region that we're focusing on. So we've divided the county up into 5 districts. Strangely enough, they match the supervisorial districts that we have. And we're doing a bikeways collaborative in each one of the supervisorial districts. And the idea is to look at how can you connect those existing bikeways through gap closures, using utility corridors, using things like the PE right-of-way that we own for future transit uses, and try to do that across the county. So we're through 3 of the 5 districts, and later this year we'll start the 4th, and next year we will start the 5th. We've also piloted a bike sharing program, the first in Orange County. We opened it at the Fullerton Rail Station last month. It's a pilot. You'll be able to you can share bikes today from the busiest rail station in Orange County, which is Fullerton, to the busiest college campus in Orange County, which is Cal State Fullerton. The data is still new, but we're excited about the preliminary usage that we're seeing there. and we're very focused on making sure that if it's workable, we can replicate it around the county, and if it's not workable, we can understand why that isn't and why it's not workable, and we can adjust and move forward in that area. I want to spend a little bit of time on our environmental programs. I mentioned in our, when I briefly talked about the sales tax measure program, that we had set aside money for environmental mitigation. And that's great, it's a good thing, but you also have to follow through on it. And it's something that as transportation planners and project implementers, we don't know really how to do. So this has been new ground for us. But in the last 4 years, we've acquired more than 1,100 acres of open space. We have done 11 habitat restoration projects, and we are underway to releasing the sort of the master plan for all of that preservation, and it's tied to the project mitigations we need for the freeway program. So we've been trying to work collaboratively with all of the environmental community representatives. We have an environmental oversight committee that has members of our board on it. There's members of the environmental community. And to acquire more than 1,100 acres and set up an endowment for future maintenance and preservation in the long term is in our plan. We dedicate 5% of our freeway program to that. That's in excess of $300 million. And we dedicate another 2% to water quality restoration in the program, which is about $150 million. So we are very proud of that, and we are starting to make allocations on our water quality program. And it's something that has worked well for us in terms of working with the community. Freeways, real quick. It's a color-coded map of the freeway system. This is what we're planning to work on between now and 2020. Black means it's completed. Orange means it's in construction. Yellow means it's conceptually planned. Green means it's in environmental. And blue down at the bottom means it's in design. I should change the map because we just broke ground on the I-5 South a few weeks ago, and we'll be coming to you later this spring for another allocation for the next segment of that. But this is the improvements that we plan to make in the county between now and 2020. And it's comprehensive. It adds lanes virtually on every single freeway in the county. Some improvements to HOV systems, significant improvements to local arterial interchanges, and also looks at freeway-to-freeway interchange improvements as well. And I'm going to close on the 91 express lanes. You're going to have a conversation about managed lanes later today. I can't wait to hear it. I'll be excited about it. But this is something that we now have an 11-year experiment on. And by all accounts, it was not a great marriage at the beginning. We obviously acquired this from the private sector in a time of challenge, but we've learned a lot in the last 11 years as the owner and operator of the 91 express lanes. And we're very proud of what we've done there. We're very proud of what we've learned. We're happy to share that with any of you, your staffs, and anyone else in the state. But I think what we're most proud of is our relationship with Riverside County that was in a tough spot a decade ago and is in a very good spot today. The 91 corridor is extremely challenging to look at, where you have a jobs and housing imbalance between Orange County and Riverside. And we've collaborated with Riverside County on the 91 corridor, not because anybody told us to or anybody mandated it or anybody made it into statute or law, but because we needed to. And we did that in a way that I think works for Riverside, it works for Orange County, and there's a real understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and we couldn't be more pleased with the way that we've come together with Riverside on the operation of the express lanes, the building of that, and we look forward to that opening in about 2 years and 10 months. That's what Ann Mayer tells me anyway, 2 years and 10 months. I'm holding her to the day. So with that, I'd just like to thank you for the time and wrap up by saying we hope that you come away with this very short presentation that we're more than a bedroom community to Los Angeles. We're more than just a freeway building entity along with our partner at Caltrans, that we are looking for a balanced transportation mode as we move forward. We're trying to make investments in transit and rail to support our growing population, and we want to work with our regional partners and our neighboring counties to improve transportation within the region. So with that, I'll close, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Darrell. Questions of Darrell? Commissioner Assimi.
It's just a brief question. How much money were you spending on bicycle trails?
We've programmed and committed about just under $30 million, $27 million.
Over
the next 6 years.
Over the next 6 years. And do you know what percentage of those trails are behind curb?
I don't. I can find that out for you and transmit it to the staff, but I can find that out for you.
Thank you.
And Vice Chair Dunn?
Thanks, Darrell. Really good job. I'm so proud, and you sometimes forget all the great stuff that's happening in Orange County, and as I was sharing with Andre, even your comment on Santa Ana and its density, we are second in Santa Ana, second in density to San Francisco. And again, folks don't realize that. So a lot of good transit-oriented development, which I know Caltrans is looking closely at. How do we plan housing and transportation? We've got a lot of good ideas here. The one thing that, and I didn't see anyone from the Transportation Corridor agencies in the audience, so if they're here, that would be awesome. But to put you on the spot a little bit, we actually have 2 transportation agencies in Orange County. Could you share maybe 1 or 2 of the top similarities and the top differences, what each of you manage? Because one of the things that you didn't mention is we are the toll road capital of the state of California, in addition to the express lanes. So if I could put you on the spot for TCA, and they don't have a CEO, so share your thoughts on that one. And totally be forgiving, because I understand, I wish they had been here to comment themselves.
Well, Vice Chair Dunn, I'd be disappointed if you didn't put me on the spot in a public meeting. So I am used to that. I think, first of all, we have a good working relationship with the TCA, and there is 2 networks in the county. From where I said I wish they were closer together, I think our model working with Caltrans is about mobility, it's about moving people through a corridor, it's about maximizing throughput. And because of the ways that the TCA network is developed, it's a little more focused on revenue. So even when we look at our pricing model on the 91 express lanes with us in Riverside County, we talk about throughput, we talk about vehicle occupancy, we talk about speeds. The TCAs don't really have the ability to do that. I think there are options for them to do that in the future. We've talked, I don't think this is a secret, about we'd like to see carpool incentives on the TCA network. We'd like to see transit incentives on the TCA network. I think there's opportunities for that. We have successfully worked with them on a potential express bus route from South Orange County on the 73 into the Irvine Business Center complex. We're working with them on connecting the 91 express lanes to the 241 in a direct toll-to-toll connector. Challenging. We have different business models. But I think if you look at them as a network, I think mobility improves for the whole county. And I think that we are not doing as good of a job on that as we could. Some of it's institutional, some of it is functional, but we could do a better job at that.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you again, Darrell, for welcoming us to Orange County.
Great. Thank you.
Let's move to item 12 and the report by our regional agencies moderator, Adrian Cardozo.
Okay, good morning, Chair Guardino and Commissioners. My name is Adrienne Cardoso. I'm with Orange County Transportation Authority and the RTPA moderator this year. Again, welcome to Orange County. The RTPA group met yesterday and held a robust meeting here in Orange County. The group heard informational reports on the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking under MAP 21 for safety performance measures, and also received information from Caltrans about coordination efforts that are underway related to this and other Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. We also heard an informational report from the Office of Planning and Research on changes in CEQA, and particularly on changes to the way that the level of service may be calculated. The group heard reports on the STIP, the Active Transportation Program, the budget and allocation capacity. We really appreciate the coordination on our STIP submittal. We want to especially commend Laurel and the CTC staff. They did a great job of looking at our local priorities and coordinating it with us. The RTPA has also asked me to thank staff, Mitch Weiss in particular, for his outstanding outreach in the development of the ATP guidelines. As with every collaboration, we requested changes that were included in the guidelines, which we really appreciate, and some which were not. We look forward to working with the Commission and CTC staff to start delivering these projects. And related to those aspects that were not included in the guidelines, we also look forward to potential changes in the guidelines that might come about through lessons we learn over the next year or two. At the RTPA's request, CTC staff presented information on the CTC annual report to the legislature. There were 2 areas in the report that were of particular concern. The first was the future potential to fund TCRP Tier 2 projects. The report suggests that due to the lack of repayment of Prop 42 loans with tribal gaming revenues, the legislature might consider another fund source or possibly repeal the remainder of the program. We want the Commission to know that we still consider these Tier 2 projects a priority, and we would be happy to work with you in any report that you might need for the legislature to share that information. The second area of concern is the section on the formula funding programs. The report notes that the state cannot be sure that regional agencies are meeting the goals of the state when funds such as STIP, gas tax subventions, state transit assistance, and CMAQ are being distributed to local agencies based on a formula methodology. However, often the formula programs have their own goals, which may be different than the statewide goals. The RTPA group is forming a subcommittee to work on ways that we can, one, inform the CTC and the legislature as to how we actually do use those funds to meet statewide goals where applicable, and two, emphasize how important it is for us to have stable sources of revenue to plan for projects that meet both our local priorities and the state's goals for mobility and greenhouse gas reduction. We had a presentation from Caltrans Local Assistance on new tools that will help us prepare for and track our projects through the federal process. As a group, we want to extend our appreciation to Caltrans for making the process a little easier and opening it up for us to confirm the status of our projects as they pass from district to headquarters to FHWA. This is a tremendous tool, and we really appreciate this effort. Finally, we would like to congratulate Ray Zhang for his appointment as the Division Chief for Local Assistance. We have really appreciated working with him over the last 6 months and look forward to continuing that relationship. We also want to thank Commissioner Gilmetti. Where'd he go? For his strong leadership as the chair and also for his significant contributions to transportation throughout the state. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Adrienne, thank you. Before you leave, commissioners, any questions of Adrienne Cardozo? Thank you, Adrienne. Item 13 is a report by our Rural Counties Task Force Chair. Is Sharon here? Excellent. Sharon, welcome.
Thank you. And I'd like to congratulate you on your chairmanship. Good morning, Commissioners. There are several items that I would like to bring to your attention that the Rural Counties Task Force has been working on. A number of them are the same that Adrienne mentioned, so I won't be redundant. I know we have a full agenda today. One of the items that we have before us is we've issued a contract to look at maintenance needs in all 26 of our rural counties, and we're going to use that to drive performance as we develop our regional plans. And so within the next year, we'll have that data available to all our members. The other thing that we've been working on is attending budget hearings and producing information indicating our interest in getting cap-and-trade funds for the rural parts of the state. Those things might look a little different than in our urban area. We've surveyed our membership asking them what kind of projects they would have. We've also requested that the funds that come into cap-and-trade that come from transportation return to transportation. We've also been participants in the Active Transportation Program. We are glad that the guidelines were supported in the legislature, and we look forward to adapting them and moving forward in the year ahead. And then lastly, a topic of conversation that's come up for the rural counties, and it was something that came up this morning in terms of STIP policy. And I think it echoes the comments that Commissioner Dunn made. We spend a lot of time and energy developing our regional transportation plans with our community. It's a plan that looks at the whole of the transportation system, not singular modes. And that it's important, I think, that the state establish policy and yet allow us in the local areas to actually generate projects that support those policies. With the funding, I don't think it's fair to isolate the STIP alone and look at it as not having sufficient funds for bicycle transportation or transit. When we look in our plan, we fund our projects through many sources. The Active Transportation Program is the same size as the interregional program, which deals with all the interregional needs of the whole state. That is a pretty healthy share. We also, in some areas, use CMAQ funds to fund the projects. So as a whole, all those funds allow us to build a system. And so for the regions, particularly the rural areas, we want to make sure that our interests are reflected at the local level and what sustainability is in, I know Marcelo's here behind me, in Humboldt or in Inyo would be quite different than what we would see in Los Angeles or San Francisco. And on that note, I'm going to add one more personal item. On April 7th and 8th, you've been invited to come up to the town hall meeting in Lake Tahoe, and myself, as well as my sister counties in Placer and Nevada, as well as the state of Nevada, look forward to bringing you up there and showing you how we implement these kinds of projects. So thank you. Any
Sharon,
questions?
thank you. Any questions of Sharon? We look forward to seeing you on April 7th and 8th.
Okay, thank you.
And so do they. We'll move to item 14, report by our Self-Help Counties Coalition Chair, Andy Chesley. Andy? Daryl's going to take items 15 through 46.
So earlier I was not Sean Nelson, and now I'm not Andy Chesley. We did meet yesterday in Sacramento, and one of the action items was for me to make this presentation. So just a minute or so of our activities. So again, thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of the Self-Help County Coalition. We did meet yesterday. We had good attendance from most of all of our self-help counties. We met in Sacramento and reviewed a number of things. A lot of our focus right now is spent on some of the recently introduced legislation that has impacts, obviously, in the transportation arena and the self-help counties side. We also talked about taking positions on several bills, and we're in the process of drafting letters and participating in communicating those positions with members of the legislatures. I'm sorry.
Please continue.
Oh, thank you. Our legislative focus will really continue to remain on project delivery as well as infrastructure funding related issues. So that's really our two primary areas that we'll be focusing on. In addition to the legislative priorities, we have developed a comprehensive policy, at least from our standpoint, on managed lanes in terms of what we think managed lanes are, how they should be implemented in the regional agencies, particularly with the self-help counties. We have met with the State Transportation Agency, we've met with Caltrans, and we plan to share those with your staff in short order, so you'll have our thoughts on that. We're happy to continue to work with the department and with the agency and with the CTC staff as managed lanes take on a greater role in the future in California and communicate our thoughts on that. Secondarily, with the release of the State Smart Transportation Initiative as well as the CTIPS report, we've also developed some principles that we think would enhance both reports in an effort to help guide and develop effective transportation partnership. We very much value the partnership we've had with the state of California. We understand its limits, we understand its successes, but we think that there's some opportunities to sort of really enhance those two reports and make sure that folks understand the role of the regional agencies. Those proposed principles, we're going to be transmitting that to the CTC for your review in short order as well. And finally, we met yesterday with Secretary Brian Kelly and Deputy Secretary Annis, and we discussed a number of key issues, including the SSTI and the CTIPS report, the state and local partnership, the governor's proposed cap and trade program, as well as some of the things that we think we need to do to continue to build upon the Caltrans and local agency relationship. We also talked about federal reauthorization, some of the issues that we're concerned about that in that area. We've committed to meet on a quarterly basis with the Self-Help Counties Coalition and the Secretary, and we think that will be very helpful as we go forward. So again, we're pleased to partnership with the CTC and the Department on project delivery, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Daryl, thank you for channeling Andy Chesley today.
Thank you.
We think it might be important to go ahead and take our lunch break now so that Malcolm can go find out the scores of as many games as possible. It is... That's what he's doing on his PDA over there. It's 11:38. We're going to continue again in 1 hour to give you a chance to get to a local restaurant or place to grab a bite, and we'll see you at about 12:38. Thank you.